Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as it is fairly dry as I'm recording this, but over the coming hours it is going to be turning a lot more unsettled as we do start to push up some very warm, humid air from the south, but also seeing lower pressure coming in from the west, and it is a recipe for heavy showers, thunderstorms and longer spells of rain through the middle part of the week, where we just about avoid that rain, which will happen perhaps through Wednesday. We could actually see temperatures really skyrocket for mid-October. Couldn't even rule out 20 or 21 degrees somewhere across eastern England. So a real return to kind of a summery feel the next few days. It's not going to last all too long, but the rest of the working week looking likely to be pretty humid, warm, thundery though, with those showers coming in from the west. As we progress into the longer range, especially as we head towards the end of October and towards Halloween, it does look like we'll see some proper autumnal conditions unleashed. Westerly flow looking like it's going to dominate. The only change we've really seen in the past 48 hours or so is perhaps a little bit more of a high pressure signal up from the south. Not completely dominating by any means, but perhaps covering more parts of England and Wales, meaning that it might not rain as much as we anticipated a couple of days ago, which is a positive, but the overall pattern, westerly flow, that's not changed at all. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, I'm recording this around 9 PM on Monday evening, and you can see it's pretty bone dry out there at the moment. We had some rain throughout the day, especially earlier in the morning. We had some heavy rain across England and Wales, quite a bit more than initially was forecasted over the past 48 hours or so. But it's now cleared, and it's fairly dry this evening, but it will all change as we head into Tuesday, and especially into Wednesday, especially in the west, but it could progress further east as well. We could see a lot of heavy thundery rain, and we'll see that in the UKV in a minute. Now, do put on the temperatures. You see it's not particularly warm at the moment. It's still pretty cold actually for northern England and Scotland. A frost developing here over especially the higher ground, but even to low-lying areas inland. But look to our south, it's much warmer across Spain, Portugal and France. Again, I'm talking relatively. It's not that warm in the grand scheme of things, but for mid-October, temperatures here into the low 20s in the evening. That is pretty warm, and it's this air that is heading our way as we do see a direct southerly lasting for the next few days. Now, do go over to the latest UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperatures over the coming days. You can see it is dry through the rest of this evening. A few patchy showers around into Tuesday morning, but it's not too bad. It's really as we head into the afternoon and evening, we start to see heavy thundery showers, or at least the first signs of them coming up from the south and the west. Initially impacting mainly southwest England, Wales, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland through Tuesday evening, but slowly progressing northwards and tracking eastwards overnight Tuesday. You can see some really bright colours, reds, oranges and yellows developing. Those are high precipitation rates, and yeah, could be really quite horrible indeed in some places. Luckily, the heaviest stuff looks like it will be arriving well after dark, so hopefully overnight, but you could wake up especially through Wednesday morning to some flash flooding potentially in places. As we head through rush hour on Wednesday, again, lots of heavy thundery showers around further westwards, potentially turning into longer spells of rain at times as well. The big thing is it's convection based, so it could play out slightly differently than what we're seeing here, but this is kind of a rough outlook. Lots of areas of pretty heavy rain through Wednesday, and again, more areas of thunderstorms potentially developing around London, down towards the southwest and the Republic of Ireland as well. Now, it's the afternoon, just to the east of these thunderstorms, or in between them, where we do avoid the cloud and the rain, we could actually see a bit of sunshine. And where we see that sunshine, temperatures will really rise, because if we have a look in a minute, we'll have a look at those upper temperatures, and you'll see they are very warm indeed for the time of year. As we progress eventually through Wednesday evening, lots more heavy thundery showers overnight, slowly pushing northwards and eastwards, eventually pushing the very warm air away for Thursday. It'll still be mild on Thursday. Doesn't look like we're going to see any cold air moving in, just less warm, and actually looks pretty dry there as we do see that humid air mass clear through. And then as we head into Friday, again, we start to see some rain coming in from the west, and that's really the start of the Atlantic onslaught. as we head into the final couple of weeks of the month. Again, it's not absolutely horrendous initially, but it will be getting going, and we'll start seeing more momentum into the weekend next week. As I said, high pressure trying to hold on in the south, so again, still a lot of uncertainty how far southwards this colder and wetter air will move, and these big weather fronts and low pressure systems, and of course stronger winds associated with it. It's very difficult to pinpoint exactly where it will move, but at the moment it does look like we will generally be under a westerly flow. Now, do look at the upper air temperatures. You can see it is starting to warm up overnight tonight. And then as we head into Tuesday, those temperatures do really start to rise. It's really, though, into Wednesday where the air mass gets exceptional upper air temperatures, 15, 16 degrees, perhaps through Wednesday. And again, that could equate to temperatures at the surface, as I said, getting up into low 20s, but it will all depend, as I said, on sunshine amounts. You can see into Thursday, we slowly push that very warm air away, just to slightly less warm. It's still average, it's maybe slightly above average air, just not quite as humid as it was through Tuesday, Wednesday, and the start of Thursday. Now into later in the week, we start to see more milder air masses moving in. Again, nowhere near as warm, but it's just a sign that that westerly flow is properly arriving. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, you can see earlier today, temperatures were actually pretty chilly, only into the low double digits, but it'll be massively increasing into Tuesday. You can already see by Tuesday afternoon, 16, 17 in the far south, still colder in the north, but turning warmer and humid further southwards. As we head into Wednesday, that's where temperatures could really skyrocket. And you see widely across England and Wales into the high teens, and you can see across eastern England, there's a pretty strong possibility we see 19 quite widely and locally 20 or 21. Again, if the thunderstorms are further westwards or not as large as anticipated, then that area of 20 plus degrees could be even larger. Again, we'll have another update on that tomorrow, but looking very warm and humid for mid-October for much of England and Wales here. As we progress into Thursday, it's a little bit chillier, but still into the mid to high teens, and that's mostly because we still have a mild air mass, but it's because it's drier as well, so it allows those temperatures to rise as high, even if the upper air temperatures have dropped quite significantly. By Friday, though, we do start to see those temperatures tailoring a little bit further down. Again, could see an isolated 17, 18 across the far east, but most back into the mid to low teens, which is a little bit more towards average, still above average, but back closer to average, not too abnormal there. And you can see finally by Saturday, trending much more close towards average, mostly low teens or just about touching the double digits. So you can see a big spike in warmth this week, but it's not a dry heat. It is going to be a very humid, very, very sticky potentially in places, and that's going to trigger lots of heavy showers, longer spells of rain, and even some thunderstorms, especially along that eastern edge of the rain, where we do see it really engaging with that warm air. Now, do you progress into the longer range? As I said, it does look like a westerly flow is going to dominate as we progress into the last couple of weeks of October. You can see that strong southerly wind arriving through Tuesday and Wednesday, combined with low pressure from the west. It is a recipe for thunderstorms. Again, in the grand scheme, what we're seeing this week isn't actually terrible for showers or storms. Again, this sort of pattern can occur in midsummer, and that's where we can see some big outbreaks of severe thunderstorms. In this sort of scenario, we're more looking at heavy showers, longer spells of rain with some thunderstorms mixing in. As we progress later in the week, you can see that westerly flow really unlocking, especially into the weekend and start of next week. As I said though, we could see more high pressure in control than we thought a couple of days ago. You can see here, even into early next week, high pressure starting to take over. You see the air masses aren't insanely warm, but they're average to above average. So again, wouldn't rule out mid-teens in quite a few areas. But it doesn't last all too long, and you see a westerly flow returns very quickly in a couple of days later. So it's not a complete dominant pattern. With high pressure building in, it is going to remain westerly, and you can see that with these oscillating air masses. But we could have some brief 2 or 3 days of decent weather within the overall westerly pattern, and that looks like it continues. I said all the way to the end of the month, all the way up towards Halloween. You pretty much see it blue to our north, oranges to our south, and a fairly flat westerly. Now we can see the same on the latest GM. Again, southerly winds over the next couple of days. Again, eventually that westerly flow moves in. A classic low pressure system sat towards ice and just spiralling in areas of rain and cooler conditions. And as you can see into early next week, we don't really see that high pressure nudge anywhere near as far northwards as the GFS does. So still a lot of uncertainty with that. But it's a very, very similar overall flow with just a flat westerly yes, a bit of oscillation, a bit of up and down with the pressure patterns, but overall, a very, very similar outcome. If we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, again, southerly winds coming in at the moment. Eventually that westerly flow returns, and into early next week, again, we do see that high pressure building in temporarily, but really only for about 24 to 36 hours before the next low arrives, and all the way to day 10. Look at that, a bog standard flat westerly, very little amplification, and you can see the air is coming in straight off the North Atlantic, so we'll be oscillating between milder and colder air. Can't get any more autumnal than that. If we finish by looking at the ensemble, we see this big spike of warmth as we head into the middle of this week, combining with some big thunderstorms, especially Wednesday, Thursday in the east, Tuesday, Wednesday as well further westwards. You can see as we progress later in the week into the start of next week, we do remain above average. Precipitation is still moderate, but it's not massive, and I do think that is mainly because high pressure could nudge in, but it's kind of a bit of a 50-50 as we saw a bit of disagreement between the GFS and the GEM. Very similar in terms of the overall flow, it's just how encompassing is that high pressure to our south, that European high. But overall, a fairly bog standard autumnal pattern, around average to slightly above average temperatures, and up and down precipitation, and still oscillating temperatures as well. 2 meter temperatures really going to rise over the next couple of days, 20 degrees potentially through Wednesday, and then slowly tailoring off. Wouldn't be surprised to still see mid-teens next week with those milder westerly winds combining with a bit of temporary higher pressure. Still could probably see mid to high teens, but probably not getting towards 20 degrees like we've got a chance this week, just because the air masses aren't that warm. But you can see a very slow taper back down towards average as we head into the latter part of October. That is a combination of the temperatures dropping and us generally just getting closer to winter months. Those 2 meter temperatures are just progressively dropping like they always do this time of year. Now, to finish by looking at the latest ECMWF ensembles, it's broadly very similar, well above average at the moment, very warm indeed as we head into the middle of the week. High precipitation, especially through Wednesday, Thursday for London, but also Tuesday for areas further westwards. And then very similar, average to above average for the foreseeable future, with moderate to high precipitation. Quite a bit more precipitation next week than the GFS showed, but again, there are more ensemble members here. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see exactly how that sort of outlook looks next week. Again, we've got the overall pattern nailed down. It's just all about how far north does that high pressure go and how all-encompassing does it get. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.